Good afternoon and welcome to Alternative Offshoot remote commentary on the Premier League clash between Everton and Manchester City. Is the alternative coverage here in the from the Premier League. We're not. This is an unofficial Premier League commentary. Before we get started in today's match with team news that we're going to bring you, I'm going to go across to our very own Nicholas Jones, who can tell us how Bolton and Barnsley finished up yesterday in the League One playoff semi-final at the University of Bolton Stadium. Nicholas, over to you.
Thanks, Ross. After an action-packed first half, both sides were goalless at the break, but it was Barnsley who took the lead when midfielder Nicky Cadden came out of nowhere to fire the ball into the bottom left corner shortly after the hour mark. Bolton struck back 5 minutes later as Randall Williams almost sent it in, but a poor save by tight stopper Harry Isted gave their top scorer Dion Charles the rebound he needed to head the ball into goal. Both sides finished the match 1-1, and it will all be decided at Oakwell on Friday with everything to play for.
Thank you very much for that one, our very own Nicholas Jones, who will in a second bring us up to date with how the Championship first leg between Sunderland and Luton got on at the Stadium of Light yesterday. So that first of all is all about the League One game between Bolton and Barnsley. Now, this is how Sunderland against Luton got on yesterday in the company of Nicholas Jones.
Sunderland are looking for their second consecutive promotion in a row, having reached the Championship via the League One playoffs last season. They had stiff opposition in the form of Luton Town, who took an early lead through a right footer from Elijah Adebayo. The Black Cats hit back 6 minutes from half-time when Amad Diallo's free kick after Alex Pritchard passed him the ball rocketed into the top left corner. Trey Hume's header from a Jack Clark cross ensured the game was theirs, as the Luton defenders did not have time to react. The 2-1 victory puts Sunderland in good shape for the second leg on Tuesday, and if they repeat the form they showed yesterday, history could well repeat itself. Luton, on the other hand, have some catching up to do.
Thank you very much there as well, Nicholas Jones. And that's not the last time you've heard of Nicholas Jones on this programme today. We'll also hear from Nicholas Jones in just a second or so, as he tells us all about the first leg of the first League 2 semi-final between Salford City and Stockport County.
Like Sunderland, Stockport County are also looking for their second consecutive promotion, but last year's National League winners were overpowered by Salford City. Matt Smith took advantage of an Elliot Watt cross before 20 minutes to put the Yammies in front. Conor McAleny went for the double in the second half, but Stockport goalkeeper Ben Hinchcliffe denied him the chance. Stockport were without key players due to injury, but their resilience made sure they are still in with a chance of reaching the final in the second leg next Saturday. Salford will equally push as hard as they aim to reach football's third tier for the first time in their history.
Salford finished that game between Salford and Stockport, finished 1-0 to the Yammies. Thank you there to Nicholas Jones for that brief report on all of the games taking place yesterday in the League 1, League 2 and Championship playoff. There's a current another Championship playoff going on right now. That's just finished the second, in fact. Coventry City 0, Middlesbrough 0 in that game there. So we'll be heading across to see what the team news is in just a moment to build up to the big game between Everton and Manchester City. It's a big game at both ends of the Premier League table as Everton fight for survival. Man City are going for the title. I wonder how that will shape things up a little bit later on. So we're going to go across to JB very shortly to get team news and his thoughts on that game, and a win for either side could mean from the end of the day and even the end of the season. And I was looking at some of the key changes for both sides, and with Man City playing Real Madrid in midweek, you would have thought they might have rested a few players. They have rested some of the players, some players, but not all who you might think would be resting. And there is a surprise one for Everton, who in their lineup as well, which will get JB to tell us about very, very shortly. So we've got some fantastic games coming up as well. We've got the Women's FA Cup final, which kicks off at 2:30 this afternoon. We'll bring you updates at half time and full time of that match. We'll keep you across that game throughout the afternoon as well. When we go into the next live match that we've got from the Premier League today, there's another Premier League game going on as well this afternoon as West Ham away to Brentford. Before we get the team news from our game, I'll just give you some headline team news from the Brentford Community Stadium, where Brentford are without Ivan Toney for the game this afternoon. They line up with David Raya in goal, Aaron Nick, Ethan Pinnock, Ben Mee, Rico Emery, Mikael Gamsgaard, Vitaly Janalt, Matthias Jensen, Brandon Buemo, Kevin Shard and Johan Visser. The bench of Joshua Silva, Zanka, Finlay Stevens, Frank Onyeka, Maz Rosaslev, Christoph Ayer, Samin Golos, Shannon Baptiste and Matthew Cox. As for West Ham, it's Lucas Fabianski in goal, Ben Johnson, Angelo Ogbonna, Nair Fagerd, Emerson, Thomas Soychek, Flynn Downs, Pablo Fornals, Manuel Lanzini, Maxwell Cornet and Danny Ings. The bench of Declan Rice, Aaron Quezzo, Lucas Paqueta, Alphonse Ariova, Divin Mumbamba, Kerr Zuma, Said Ben Rama, Jared Bowen and Tilo Kera in that game. We'll keep you across with that one. We'll hopefully get JB to keep you across that one as this game unfolds. I will bring you today. We've got another live commentary match later as Bradford City take on Carlisle United. That's going to be with Nicholas Jones later this evening. So we'll go through some of the other scores from other games in other leagues later on in the programme as well. With team news around about 4 or so minutes to go. Let me say a very good afternoon to your good friend and our very good colleague as well. He's not me on the commentary like he said across the bottom there for a moment. I just as it was just who was presenting there and speaking to Nicholas and getting updates from Nicholas. The match commentator for this game, in fact, is that man you can see across the bottom of the screen, John JB Stuttard. And JB has got all the team news at the kick-off as the teams are getting ready to come out any moment now. They're in the tunnel. So let me hand over to your match commentator. Very good afternoon to you, JB. Over to you, my friend.
Thanks, Gus. Thank you, everybody. Welcome to Goodison Park for this very intriguing encounter between Everton and Manchester City. A game really that affects things at both ends of the spectrum in terms of the league table. Manchester City, of course, under Pep Guardiola, going for the league title. Everton needing a victory to give their relegation avoidance chances a real shot in the arm. So everything up for grabs here. Sean Dyche has tried to galvanise Everton in the best way that he can. Has had very differing results, but having said all that, Everton have looked a lot more organised side in recent weeks since Dyche took over than beforehand under Frank Lampard before. But with the likes of Leeds drawing and Forest drawing yesterday, this really is 3 points really that could kickstart their season, really, Everton, and try and get them out of real problems at the bottom. But Manchester City, no, they're obviously in between that two-legged semi-final in the Champions League when while they're taking on Real Madrid. It finished 1-1, but there was a bit of controversy about their equaliser. The score scored in the second half by Kevin De Bruyne, but they want to finish the job at the Etihad, but obviously with that in mind, Kevin De Bruyne is on the bench as the teams make their way out onto the Goodison Park pitch. There's just less than 2.25 minutes to kick off, so I'm going to give you the two teams. Everton have Jordan Pickford in goal there. That's their captain, of course. So Jordan Pickford leads out Everton this afternoon here at Goodison Park. Terrific atmosphere as the teams come out to Z cards, which is the real theme of Everton. So this is the two sides then. Jordan Pickford in goal for Everton, James Tarkowski, Nathan Patterson, Mason Holgate, who makes his first appearance since he was sent off for 2 yellow cards in the game against Crystal Palace, and Yerry Mina across the back. Then it's Dwight McNeil, Abadore Decore, Alex Iwobi and James Garner. And Drissegay as well. And then up front, it's Dominic Calvert-Lewin for Everton. For Manchester City, their lineup, their 11, it's Ederson in goal, back four of Kyle Walker, Ruben Diaz, Larry Laporte and Emmanuel Enchani. Ilkay Gundogan, Rodri, Julian Alvarez, Riyad Mahrez and Phil Foden. And Erling Haaland, that 35 goals league striker, now broke the record held for many years for 34 by Andy Cole and Alan Shearer. He's up front. He scored well over 50 goals this season for Manchester City in all competitions. Can he add more to his name this season? Well, we'll just have to wait and see. But what I will say is it's going to be a tough one for Everton. But remember, Arsenal came here earlier on in January and won Sean Dyche's first games, and Everton won by a goal to nil. So you never know what might happen as regards that. But it's going to be an interesting. It is going to be an interesting match, that is for sure, in the making. City are in the fluorescent yellow and black hoops. So that'll help. Everton, of course, in their usual blue shirts. And just to remind you, so Drissegay is number 27, incidentally. A lot of atmosphere as well, and of course we'll keep you updated with all the other scores that come in this afternoon, including the women's FA Cup final at Wembley this afternoon. This is the first of three live matches, of course, on the TC Hub, as Russ was referring to. At 4:25 we've got Paul James commentating on the other game that will involve the title race, Arsenal against Brighton. So they'll be watching this one with interest, Arsenal supporters, or listening to us hopefully with interest as well with this. And of course, and then at 7 o'clock we'll be live at Valley Parade as Bradford take on Carlisle in the League Two playoff final. Nicholas Jones, who's been a busy man for us over the last sort of 48 hours, is up in Yorkshire for us this afternoon. So Dwight McNeil, who's been sort of the catalyst for Everton's pick-up in form, scored a couple of really good goals in the victory over Brighton where they won 5-1. It was a terrific performance from them. Manchester City in a huddle, led obviously by their talisman there, Erling Haaland. He's not the skipper, incidentally, but he's the vocal point and the man that really makes everything tick in that sense for Manchester City. He's a terrific player in every sense of the word. Our referee today comes from Britain showing Greater Manchester. That's Anthony Taylor. Two assistants are Gary Bezic and Adam Nunn. Fourth official is Graham Scott of Oxfordshire, and VAR, if required, Craig Pawson. It's going to be Manchester City to kick off then. Crucial game. City could really crank up the pressure and put clear daylight between themselves and Arsenal at the top of the table, with Arsenal to kick off later in the day as City get us away. Everton with a big 3 points today. They're on 31 points. A victory for them would take them to 34. And really crank up the pressure on the likes of Nottingham Forest and Leeds and Leicester. And of course, Southampton already down yesterday after a 2-0 defeat at Fulham yesterday. So the onus really is more probably on Everton than on both sides, really. And the responsibility really to play a decent game of football. As Mahrez cuts in from the right-hand side, uses Rodri, and Rodri gets the ball out towards the near side again, where Kyle Walker is bombing down the City right, uses Mahrez in a little bit in field, chips the ball into the Everton penalty area. Manchester City, in fact, attacking the Gladys Street end in the first half. Ball knocked forward over the top. Decore will chase it, but Manchester City's Kyle Walker gets it back to his goalkeeper Ederson, the Brazilian, and he plays it across the penalty area. And already it looks as if we're going to have a real open field to the game. City, of course, will know, as everyone will know, obviously know that we'll play out from the back. There's no doubt about that. It's Everton, though, will have to be a little bit more conservative, I should say, as Pep Guardiola's team look to get forward again through Mahrez, but number 7 there, Damari Gray, looking at one. Dwight McNeil, sorry, knocking that out for a throw. Of course, at least 2 of the starting 11 has played for Shoreditch before in his days at Burnley. Another one, Michael Keane, is amongst the substitutes. I'll run through the substitutes as soon as we get a chance. As we say, Erling Haaland and Yerry Mina, I think, being spoken to there by referee Taylor. Played a minute and 50 of this crucial Premier League game. Of course, hopefully next week we'll be bringing you Nottingham Forest against Arsenal live as well on the Saturday afternoon, on the Saturday tea time. And of course, hopefully in a couple of weeks' time, I'll be bringing you the commentary of the FA Cup final on the 3rd of June between Manchester City themselves and Manchester United. So once those games have been done, that will be my quota of commentary to the TCM, which has taken me far and wide, 4 or 5 competitions. And looking forward to bringing you the climax, certainly in the latter weeks of the Premier League season, and of course the Cup final later on this month, next month, as the ball played forward towards Haaland, but John Pickford grabbing that. Of course, it's always a fun time this season when everything starts being decided. It's a real shame for Southampton that they have crashed out of the Premier League, but they crashed out in such a whimper yesterday against Fulham. It was unbelievable. Anyway, latest scores. Brentford and West Ham, of course, kicked off. There's 0-0. Coventry and Middlesbrough drew 0-0 earlier today at the Ricoh Arena, or the Coventry Building Society Arena, I should say now. That's 0-0. The second leg at Middlesbrough next week. And that's very much in the melting pot there. Sunderland leading 2-1 in the other game between themselves and Luton, as you heard earlier. The Women's FA Cup final between Chelsea and Manchester United, that kicks off at 4:30, but we'll keep you across that for you as well. As any goals that go in that other game between Brentford and West Ham, we'll let you know. West Ham still not mathematically safe, but and a win for them at the G-Tech today would, you think, would get them out of trouble. They lead 2-1 in their Europa League game against AZ Alkmaar, incidentally. As Jordan Pickford gets the ball now. And really the Everton supporters here at Goodison Park will have a big responsibility on their shoulders just to get the team galvanised, and they've got a chance here. Oh, just hit it over just hit it with a little bit too much pace there towards Welby. Decore's idea was a good one, but he just overran the ball towards Alex Welby, and if he'd have played that with a bit more pace, I think Welby would have been onside as well as the ball was played. So just needed to be executed that little bit better, and well, Alex Welby might have been in for something. It's their 52nd meeting. Everton have won 18 of them. Manchester City 23, 10 draws in that time as well. So so Manchester City certainly having the best of it in the Premier League era. But of course, as everyone so rightly says on social media, football did not start in 1992. It's Dwight McNeil now. Gets it back to number 4 there, Mason Holgate, who then Pickford there just a little bit haphazard there with his first touch, but he got away with it and kicked it up well over halfway, and City returned it with compliments. Decore now, big leggy midfielder, takes it on. He's got McNeil on the elbow. This is Dwight McNeil, gets across in it, he backs off a defender, can't walk in. It will be an Everton corner. He's so good, McNeil, as we've seen for many years at Burnley, doing that sort of thing. I've just seen that back pass again, and Haaland was being very tightly marked. I've noticed already by James Tarkowski. Now, obviously, watching him at Burnley for so many years, he's a no-nonsense defender and did score the winner when they played Arsenal back in January. So, incidentally, he scored from a Dwight McNeil corner. Anyway, James Garner's going to take this one from the left-hand side then for Everton. Still 0-0 if you've just joined us. 5.5 minutes in. Garner's corner into the penalty area. This is where Dyche will feel that they can get one on Manchester City here. Garner will have a second chance. Uses McNeil. McNeil, he's tried to... that's clever play from Dwight McNeil, but he just ran into Riyad Mahrez, unfortunately. And then the ball wasn't cleared properly, and Welby's first touch was poor, and then Decore charging down, and in the end, the goalkeeper had to scamper out to pick up the loose ball. But Everton, I can just sense, and I'm sure if you're listening to this at home or streaming to a live television feed of the game, wherever you're watching around the world, I tell you what, it was Everton are right in their faces from the word goal, defending practically from the front. It was just, that's always absolutely cracking to see in a lot of ways. And the ball now played out to Mahrez now for Manchester City, deep inside Everton territory. He got away from Holgate. He goes down. The referee says free kick. No yellow card for Mason Holgate. Just a talking to for him. Just had the hands on the back of Mahrez's shoulder there. Just leaned on him a bit and pushed him over, according to the referee. Mahrez is one of those players that will, when a bit of contact comes his way, he will milk it a little bit. But having said that, though, it is a free kick, and it was a correct decision from referee Taylor. Don't forget, we've got VAR on duty today. That's Craig Pawson's bag. So it's a free kick. Alvarez, the Argentinian, or Mahrez, the Algerian, will take this. Haaland is stalking around that 6-yard area. He might do well to try and stay onside at this point. Mahrez is free kick into the danger zone. It's headed away by Everton. Didn't really reach the first man, really, that free kick. It was a very... I mean, the idea was good, but the execution... not so. Excuse me. Laporte gets it out to the far side. Still 0-0 if you just joined us on the TC Hub and all platforms. You're with us on JB Sports, Storm FM, TC Hub and TC Hub 2. We're also on the TC Hub Twitch channel as well. And of course, you can comment on the games. Just keep the comments clean. Here's come Manchester City. Ball in towards Haaland. Away by Tarkowski from the edge of his own 6-yard box. Calvert-Lewin battling with Laporte. Everton's past 5. Lost. Drew. Lost. 1. Drawn 1. And here's a chance for Decore against Kyle Walker. He's a bit isolated. And he did well to put Kyle Walker off. And in fact, I'm wondering if he's actually forced a corner out of it. Well, from what I've seen there, Decore certainly no holds barred. He's giving Kyle Walker there a little bit of a torrid time. It was a throwing in back to Everton. But they've had to go backwards to come forwards again. Tarkowski now on the ball, gets the ball back to Jordan Pickford. Pickford way out of his goal, but kicks away. No great pressure, but then kicks into no man's land where Edison could take that, put his cap on it and all sorts of other stuff on it and catch it very comfortably and get City moving again from their own half of the field. Still 0-0 if you just joined us. In the other game, it's Brentford 0, West Ham 0. Remember, the Women's FA Cup final kicks off in around about less than 20 minutes time at Wembley, and we'll keep you updated during as much as we can throughout this afternoon on many of our shows. Remember, this is the first of 3 live commentaries, 2 from the Premier League, 1 from the EFL playoffs. Later we've got the other championship contenders, Arsenal in action at the Emirates against Brighton, who had such a good season under Roberto De Zerbi. That's at 4:25 on the TC Hub and all platforms with Paul James. He'll be commentating for you on that one. And then at 5 to 7 o'clock kickoff for it. Valley Parade for the first leg of the League 2 playoff between Mark Hughes' Bradford, and Carlisle United, who have done really well to get in those playoffs at the moment. In the other one, Salford. The ball chipped forward again towards Alvarez, and it's knocked away again. Tarkowski wins another header in there. And Laporte now keeps it up for Manchester City. And it's still 0-0 here, so you've just joined us. I do apologise if you could hear stuff over there. And here's Kyle Walker now for Manchester City. Infield. And here's Laporte. Keeps the play going. Here's Laporte again. Gets it out to the far side. Terrific play here. Phil Foden, the England international, keeps the ball in play. Laporte round the corner. Good football this. But again, Garner wins it for Everton. Right on that far side, and he's done really well there, the youngster. Tries to get Calvert-Lewin in behind. Calvert-Lewin will have to do a lot of the dirty work up front and try and hold the play up and try and bring other players into the game. He's putting a lovely crossfield ball to Decore. Now McNeil. Decore again. Leap inside the Everton half. Jussigana Gay then loses possession. And then the ball comes away once more. Still 0-0 between Everton and Manchester City at Goodison Park. Referee has blown for a free kick As he know, Bayonne says the referee. Brentford 0, West Ham 0. We've had 12 minutes of that one as well. They kicked off at exactly the same time as we have at Goodison Park. Still 0-0 at the GTEC Community Stadium between Brentford, who don't have Ivan Toney in their team, and West Ham, who you think a win should do enough to make sure that they are a Premier League team again next season. And it just shows that everyone was going for David Moyes' head about 5 weeks ago after a damaging defeat against Newcastle. But credit to West Ham board, they stuck with Moyes, and looks like they will be playing football, Premier League football next season. Whether or not they'll keep Declan Rice is another matter. As we look at Sean Dyche and Ian Welland there, they'll be very content in this first quarter of an hour, this first 12 minutes or so. They've kept Manchester City at bay. Can they do it consistently for 90 minutes? That'll be the key here. As Calvert-Lewin in from the start today, plays the ball forward, can't look for Dwight McNeil, and it deflects a couple of times and into the path of Edison, who takes it in no man's land, really, as we now go towards 12 and a half minutes played at Goodison Park. First of 3 live commentary games on the commentary hub. Don't forget, Paul James is your man at 4:30. Kick at 4:30 was Arsenal. Look to respond at whatever happens here in this one between Arsenal and Brighton. That's Paul's game. You're far more prep for it than I have. I've had to hurriedly write mine down. I have a day job and I've had to sleep this morning, so I've literally in the last half an hour walking up, written down the teams, wrote down a couple of stats here or there, and got on with it. It's been that sort of a day, really. But we're on the air and we're bringing you a good commentary. Still yet to see a goal yet. Now we might see you on here. Ball knocked back across with Laporte, and it's well blocked away. Or Robert Alvarez, sorry, I should say. It came away again. Still 0-0 in the other game. Just to keep you abreast the Championship game, if you've just joined us and you don't know what's been happening between Coventry and Middlesbrough, that finished goalless. Between Coventry and Middlesbrough, they've got to do it all over again at the Riverside next week. As Scuff Clovers from Pickford goes out into the Bowens Road stand where we're sat. And a throw it is to Manchester City, just inside the Manchester City half. But it's back now with number 3, Ruben Dias. Still 0-0 if you've just joined us. No real opportunities really for either side, but plenty of promise, certainly as far as the final third is concerned. A corner to Manchester City, won by Phil Foden on the far side. Got a deflection, it's out for a corner off Nathan Patterson. No Seamus Coleman in the 16. That's a real disappointment to lose their skipper. So goalkeeper Jordan Pickford leads the Everton side. Mason Hall get in from the start after his double yellow card at Crystal Palace the other week. They got a point out of that one, incidentally, in that game, Everton as well. That was the only blank really for Roy Hodgson's men as the ball play was played into the penalty area. The ball was headed out for a throw-in, not a corner. Total passes, Everton 38, 163 Manchester City. At that stage, you wouldn't be too surprised at that, because you'd expect at this stage, at any stage of the match between Manchester City or any opposition, as we see a little off-the-ball incident involving Eric Laporte there. I'm not sure who went down there. It looks like Yerry Mina went down there. To be fair, I think it was 6 of one, half a dozen. 6 of one, half a dozen the other, quite frankly. Laporte is had a few words to say on that.
That's got your slipper. Oh, sorry, he's eating your slipper, man.
Apologies there. Apologies for whoever walked in there. Still 0-0. And Everton against Manchester City, still 0-0. As I say, apologies there. As Anthony Taylor tries to diffuse every situation going here at this moment in time. And Manchester City going with that throwing on that far corner quadrant. And now Ruben Dias in possession, still 0-0. Midway inside the Everton half, City have the ball. Brentford 0, West Ham 0, 17 minutes gone and down there in London, still 0-0. And Everton now just looking to defend, make it so difficult for Manchester City to break them down. And they're just saying to Manchester City, come on, break them down, break us down, try. Sean Dyche is sending a statement to me, turns out the Pep Guardiola in that sort of sense. If you're going to break us down, you're going to do it the hard way. In La Liga, Celta Vigo 0, Valencia 1. They've played 48 minutes in that game, 1-0 to Valencia. And there's some Serie A scores I'll keep you abreast of this afternoon as well. Some Serie A matches being played over in Italy as the cross comes into the penalty area, headed out. Is it by McNeil? No, it's going to be kept in play, and it's been kept in play by Morris. He's got round the back of McNeil into the penalty area, just a bit over hit. Alvarez keeps it alive, header back in there with interest. Gundogan's in there inside the 6-yard box, and in the end, Tarkowski got his foot to the loose ball, and they just smashed it into the 3-tiered stand away opposite where I'm sitting, and out of play for a City throw. But a little moment of hesitation there from Dwight McNeil, allowing the cross to come in there from Riyad Mahrez, and then it was a bit of a pinball machine being there, headed forward there by Amanji, and then Gundogan just couldn't get the ball out of his feet, which allowed Tarkowski just to poof the ball away as far as up the field as he can. The ball anyway is back with Pickford, and the ball now is a Welby, but the ball's out of play, and that will be a throw to Manchester City. Remember, the Women's FA Cup final kicks off at 2:30 this afternoon. That's between Manchester United. So I'll bring you a couple of later scores from Serie A, as Walker can't keep that in place, so we can bring you those. These are only 4 minutes old, these two games. Fiorentina 0, Udinese 0, and Monza 0. Napoli, the new champions, and congratulations to Napoli, well deserved. They're now the new Scudetto winners. They're drawing 0-0 with Monza, but as I say, 4 minutes gone in that one. In the French Ligue 1, Brest 0, Auxerre 0, Montpellier 0, Lorient 0, and Rennes 0, Troyes 0. All those 3 games are played for only 6 minutes. And in the Eredivisie, FC Groningen 0, Ajax 0. But again, that game only 10 minutes old. 18 minutes gone in the Premier League between Everton and Manchester City. Still no goals. Remember, we got Arsenal Brighton later on for you on the TT Hub with Paul James. Nicholas Jones will be with you at 7 o'clock. For a tasty League 2 playoff encounter between Bradford City and Carlisle United. Of course, he brought you a very good commentary game yesterday afternoon between Bolton and Barnsley, which ended 1-1. And if you want me to back anyone significantly to win the playoffs, I would actually wager at this point, even though Bristol put 4 past Sheffield Wednesday the other day, I would actually go down. If you were to ask me who should I put your money on to win the League One playoffs, I would go for Michael Duff and Barnsley. Michael Duff has done a terrific job down at Oakwell this season and got them well in the playoff frame against much bigger teams. You look at the likes of Plymouth Argyle and Sheffield Wednesday and Ipswich Town, who have been fighting up there. Barnsley have really been the best of the rest, really, and Michael Duff has done a terrific job. So I'd love Michael Duff to get to the Championship with a very good Barnsley side who have been playing some really good stuff. And they deserved something out of that game at Bolton yesterday, who, of course, have won the Papa John's Trophy this season, beating Plymouth 4-0. I think it was 4, maybe 5-0, was it, at Wembley the other day? But it's very interesting. There's been a goal in the game at Brentford. I tell you, after 21 minutes, Brian in Wembo, they're not missing Ivan Toney much, are they? But Brian in Wembo has just scored for Brentford, so this really puts West Ham's backs up a little bit. It's Brentford 1, West Ham 0 in that London derby at the G-Tech Stadium. So West Ham with it all to do there if they want to get the points necessary to survive in the division next season. They've got to, if they're going to stay up, they must come from behind to win today. Ball play forward, a chance here for Manchester City, crossing towards our but it's knocked away by Yerry Mina for a corner to Manchester City. We've played 20 minutes, almost 21 minutes gone here at Goodison Park. It's still Everton 0, Manchester City 0. There may have been a possibility of an offside there, but of course Gundogan kept his head, came up Trezeguet actually, rather than Yerry Mina, as I initially thought. Wears Garner on the back of his shirt. That's his middle name. On the team sheet, he's known as Idrissa Gueye. As that corner comes in, it's on the roof of the net and not troubling anyone, not even the scorers. Goal kick to Everton. Really poor corner from that far side, it must be said. Just remind you of all the other results of yesterday, of course, just to keep you updated of all the other results from yesterday. Let me just bring them to you. Leeds 2, Newcastle 2. That was a cracking game. Unfortunately, there was one or two mindless incidents involving Elisa Porter, who attacked Eddie Howe. We don't want to see that in any walk of life. I'm sure Russ will have his views on that, but a decent point for Leeds, but they needed 3 really against Newcastle, but it was a tough game. Aston Villa 2, Tottenham 1, Chelsea 2, Nottingham Forest 2. A good point now for Nottingham Forest on the road. Palace 2, Bournemouth 0, Manchester United 2, Wolves 0. So United's quest for a top 4 spot gains momentum. And Southampton, the first team relegated, and the 3 that can go down this season, they were beaten 2-0 by Fulham yesterday afternoon. So, and Leicester away at Liverpool. That game is an 8 o'clock kickoff tomorrow night. As Mahrez knocks the ball in there towards the far side. Up goal the heads, and it's a corner. Came off an Everton body last. It came off Patterson as he challenged there with Foden towards the far side of the penalty area. We've played 22 and a half minutes. We're just over that, in fact. And it's still Everton 0, Manchester City 0. Patterson clearly got the header in there. Referee was quite right to give the Manchester City corner. Akanji is in there. You bet your bottom dollar. Ruben Dias is in there too. It's a shorter corner this time. Vala's on the edge of the area. About 9 or 10 Everton shirts back in the tiny area as that cross comes in. A very poor cross really from Rodri on the far side, and it's out for a goal from Gundogan, sorry, on the far side. Gundogan skipper in the side today. As Pep Guardiola has a word with his assistants there on the far side. Pep Guardiola looks like he's put in an early audition for the milk tray man. In a black polo neck sweater, black trousers. Yeah, could be a dead ringer for the milk tray man. Anyway, 0-0 between these two well-known Northwest football rivals. As Everton trying to get something going down that far side with Alex Iwobi, but Manchester City just too coy to the situation at the moment. But it just needs one break and anything can happen. It's a crazy game, football, as certain Jimmy Greaves once said. A funny old game, I think that was the quote he used. Here's James Tarkowski wearing number 2. Gets the ball back to his goalkeeper, Jordan Pickford. James Tarkowski has had a great footballing education, playing in front of 3 of England's finest goalkeepers, Joe Hart and Nick Pope and Tom Heaton at Burnley, and now Jordan Pickford here at Everton. So he's had plenty of experience in playing in front of top level goalkeepers, English goalkeepers. And while Everton have won a free kick on the far side, just inside the Manchester City half. If we get Russell kick your breast with all of what's going on in the world of football at half time. It just reminds you, Brentford for Brian and Wembo's goal on the 22nd minute has given Brentford the lead in that other game at the G-Tech Community Stadium. As Everton have a free kick headed out. This will go for a corner for Everton, I fancy, and it will. They're attacking the Park Road stand away to my right, to my left. Named, of course, after their former manager and most successful manager, Howard Kendall. His trophy all included 2 league championships in 85 and 87, the FA Cup in 84, 2 charity shields in 84 and 86, and of course 3 charity shields. As the corner comes in, that didn't look like it was on the corner to me, and it's knocked right towards goal, and Ederson had to flick it out with his hand, and did really well. As McNeil now gets the ball in halfway, gets it back to his goalkeeper. It's a real shame that Howard Kendall's team at the time, when they won the league in 85, didn't have the opportunity to see how far they would have gone in the European Cup, as it was known then, because of what happened sadly at Eisel. But which saw English was banned for 5 years as the ball is knocked out of play. It would have been interesting if Everton were allowed to have played in that competition, whether they would have won the European Cup. They did have the next season after they did win the league. They did have Gary Lineker, who scored something like 40 goals for them in all competitions. It was just fun. They almost came close to winning a league double themselves, but of course their neighbours across Stanley Park, of course, had quite a lot to say. And Ian Rush, in particular, scored the winner at Chelsea to win the league championship that year in '86, and then scored a brace against Everton in the Wembley FA Cup final a week later. Here's Gundogan for Manchester City inside the penalty area, but again, two Everton defenders very quick on the scene, alive to the situation, and I tell you what, that was terrific. That was terrific bit of defending there from the two Evertonians there, who just quietly just hounded him out. It was just unbelievable stuff. Of course, we'll keep you updated with the Women's FA Cup final. They're about a minute away from kick-off, incidentally, at Wembley Stadium this afternoon. Just to remind you, though, we've got commentary of Arsenal against Brighton at 4:25 this afternoon, and then, of course, we've got a big one for you in the League Two playoff front. Terrific game in the making between Bradford City, who should not be in that division. They should be higher, in my opinion, higher in the football pyramid than what they are in League Two. Under the chairmanship of Mark Hughes these days, they take on Carlisle United. That kicks off at 7 o'clock. We'll be on the air at 6:55 on all the TCF platforms. Nicholas Jones, our EFL man for playoff man for all seasons, will be doing that one for you, and he looks forward to having your company for that one, of course. And Nicholas, I'm pleased to announce, will be presenting coverage of our FA Cup final in 3 weeks' time, when Manchester City do take on Manchester United in that all Manchester derby. Nicholas will have a strong team of several pundits, and of course will be backed up by myself leading a three-man commentary team, which I can confirm will be Paul James and Russ Vernon as co-commentators. So it'll be the first time in Commentary Hub history that we'll have a three-pronged commentary team led by yours truly on that afternoon. And I can tell you that kick-off for that match will be at 3 o'clock, just like the old days. And I hope the FA see sense after that and keep it at 3 o'clock permanently, because let's face it, having the game kick off at 5 o'clock or 5:15 or 4:45 is just not viable. It's not traditional, and I think that would be the way things are with the transport and stuff. I think 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon is just the perfect time, especially when you've got two Northern teams there. And I'm glad the FA had seen sense and got it back to its traditional kick-off at 3 o'clock. We haven't had that since 2011, the traditional 3 o'clock kick-off. Maybe, I mean, they've tried it for over a decade, the later kick-offs. Of course, TV might have a part to play on it, and TV companies will part to play, but you can't play around with tradition. It's got to be a 3 o'clock kick-off, come what may, really, for the FA Cup final. Here's Jordan Pickford now with the kick for Everton outside his penalty area, headed away. And we've got a big game at the City Ground to bring you next weekend, Saturday evening, Saturday tea time around 5:25. We'll have Nottingham Forest. Of course, during the week we'll have Champions League commentaries as well, the Manchester City second leg. Of course, we'll keep you up to, of course, if there's any games that we don't cover on the actual TCM YouTube and Twitch channels, you'll find updates on our Twitter feed at Commentary Live 1. Here's Kyle Walker now for Manchester City. Right hand side, gets the crossing, deflects into the side netting, and a corner kick to Manchester City. We played exactly half an hour of this first half. Brentford 1, West Ham United 0 in the other game down at the Brentford Community Stadium. Brian and Rambo with the goal in that one. As we see a picture of Anthony Taylor and Erling Haaland, the Premier League top scorer, exchanging a few, shall we say, pleasantries. Both have big beaming grins on their faces as this corner will be taken by Riyad Mahrez, the Algerian. Can he put in a very good delivery this time? Mahrez into the outside the penalty. Foden was going to strike it from outside the area. It's blocked away. I think Yerry Mina got a block on it there, the Colombian. And it comes out again. This time it's Kyle Walker now. Deep inside Everton territory, halfway inside the Everton half of the field. And still no way through this hesitant Everton defence. The ball played in there. Goalkeeper was a bit indecisive whether to stick or twist and come and get that or stay at home on his line. In the end, he stayed at home on his line, and nothing no harm came about it. 31 minutes gone. Here's Mahrez now for Manchester City. Still 0-0 in this commentary. This first commentary of free. Calvert-Lewin picks it up. He's the furthest man forward. He's gone over halfway, but he's surrounded by 5 Manchester City defenders and has done remarkably well to get 10 yards into the Manchester City half and win a free kick off them. That was quite an incredible bit of play there from Dominic Calvert-Lewin, one must say. Because he's isolated here against 5 Manchester City defenders, and Mahrez, to be fair, completely takes him and the T of China out, and it's a free kick to Everton, which means they'll get a bit more yardage further forward as well, which will obviously help as well. But again, crucially, it's a set play which the Everton players can exploit. Free kick in towards the area. Tarkowski was lurking. Ball is in there. Patterson did really well there to win the ball. He did so well. James Garner did well to win the ball, I should say. He did really well. Decore tries to take it on the edge of the area. Everton, when they have had chances, they've gone for the jugular and have tried to stretch Manchester City, but now I fear they could be in trouble here because Alvarez is, well, he's held it. He took a bad touch and he'll have 3 Everton defenders to get back there and pinch the ball away. But just for one fleeting moment, I thought Julian Alvarez, the Argentinian World Cup winner, was going to get forward again, and he just lost his bearings a bit, and in the end, Everton were able to get it away. But credit to Everton, they are fighting for their lives at the bottom, and if there's any encouragement from the first 33 minutes for Sean Dyche to take away from this, that defensively they've been very strong. They haven't really given City too much of a sniff, really, which is credit to how Sean Dyche and he and Warren have really got about their business this afternoon. Terrific man management. And Sean Dyche, remember, hasn't got a particularly good record against Manchester City in his Burnley days, of course, but did take up taken a couple of home points off him in the past. Oh no, a chance here for Calvert-Lewin, and he's knocked away for a corner. Kyle Walker, but a lovely little move from Everton, which could have worked out if Calvert-Lewin had just been a bit more paced, just been a little bit more quicker to that situation. I mean, it could have easily been one-on-one with Edison at this point. It was very unlucky. His first touch was a bit heavy, and it allowed Walker, who's got pace to burn, even for a 31-year-old, he's got great pace to burn, Kyle Walker, and did really well. So it's a corner kick. The champions under a bit of siege now, as Everton prepare to take a corner. Dwight McNeil's got to take it. Remember, it was Dwight McNeil and James Tarkowski who combined to beat Arsenal here back in late January. Sean Dyche's first game in charge. In the goal ahead. Chance here! Oh, he's over the top from 3 yards. It was Mason Holgate, and I don't think the ball bounced favourably for him. And he got well underneath it. It was a terrific corner from McNeil inside the penalty area. Tarkowski got up and flicked it on. And it came maybe a little bit quicker for Mason Holgate. No doubt in my mind that was the best chance of the first half out of any of the chances we've seen so far in this first half. But Holgate just maybe slightly took his eye off the ball. Well, they're in a terrific moment, but Everton certainly proving their worth on set plays and how dangerous they really can be. As Manchester City go in search of a goal themselves. Cross came in towards Erling Haaland. James Tarkowski, coolness personified, got it away, and then the shot came in. Easy for Jordan Pickford, who puts a thumb up and a wink and says, I had that under control. That shot from Rodri all the way, right-footed, no problem there. With a thumb up, wink of the eye, no problem. 10 minutes to half time. Still no goals between Everton and Manchester City. But the biggest chance, about a minute or two back, came from a corner for Everton, and Mason Holgate somehow has miscued from 3 yards and miscued it over the top of the crossbar and out of play. But at the moment, I would say if you were to put me on the spot at this point, I think Sean Dyche would have been the more happy of the two managers. You look at Manchester City, for all their possession they've had and all the passes they've had, they've gone very much sideways, and Everton have frustrated them. And I've kept them. If they've had any one or two, I don't think they've had too many shots really. I think there was that one shot from Gundogan, from Rodri, that didn't test Pickford at all. It was an easy, comfortable save for the England man. But apart from that, I can't remember City troubling the goalkeeper too much. Ball played into the penalty area again. The centre backs of Everton Yuri Reina and James Tarkowski have been absolutely superb. Here's Riyad Mahrez now for Manchester City. He's looking to get the ball in now. This could be dangerous. Ball for first, and it's in from 6 yards from Ilkay Gundogan. The first time he's wiggled away from the penalty area, and he's flicked it with the toe poke. He's almost sort of flicked it with the toe poke about 4 yards off the ground. He's flicked it goalwards, and despite the best efforts of Jordan Pickford, he can't get there, and it's nestled sweetly in the left-hand corner. It's so tough on Everton, who have played really well. But you give someone like Gundogan a little sniff like that. It was a lovely little flick here. This is a good cross from Mahrez. And look at this. First touch, brilliant, with the knee. And then the second touch with the right-hand toe poke. It's just a cute finish, isn't it, from the former Borussia Dortmund man. And Jordan Pickford at that point hasn't got a price at this point. And if Everton are going to get anything out of the game, they must do so from behind. Not a lot anyone could have done about that. That is just a superb piece of ingenuity from the former Borussia Dortmund man and German international and captain for the day too. Ilkay Gundogan, what a terrific goal. So Everton 0, Manchester City 1 is the scoreline. Brentford 1, West Ham United 0 in the other game. And we'll just get you a progress report from Wembley Stadium in the Women's FA Cup final taking place this afternoon. That's at Wembley Stadium. Galton has had a goal ruled out, incidentally, in that one. That was a goal that would have been for Manchester United, but been ruled out. Mark Skinner's side taking on Emma Hayes' all-conquering Chelsea side. So still 0-0 in that game. Remember, Coventry and Middlesbrough in the Championship playoff. They drew 0-0 this lunchtime. As Manchester City set off in Champions League, a second one, he's got it! Erling Haaland had it again! 6 yards out, I think Pickford got a hand on it. He was diving the opposite way to where the ball had gone. And 2 goals in 3 minutes for Manchester City have really put them in charge. And now it will be a real case now of over to you, Arsenal. Everton in big trouble now. They need 2 goals as snookers if they're going to get anything out of this one, I'm afraid. This is where City strike. When they get one, it's bang bang, and it's always another one soon afterwards here. The cross came in from the left-hand side, and Haaland left free really by Mason Holgate. It was rank defending, and how well we praised Everton's defending up until that point. You do not leave Erling Haaland unmarked like that. Gundogan, an assist and a goal for him, and Erling Haaland with a free header. It was a free header. Pickford didn't have a chance again, despite the fact that he got a hand on it. But Joe Dyche will be miffed at the fact that he's left Haaland completely free there, Holgate. And Manchester City, within 2 minutes, are 2-0 up. 39 minutes gone. It's turning, and a day that looked promising for Everton has turned against them in the space of 2 minutes. And Erling Haaland at it again. Well over 50 goals for a season. And I think the only other player to have scored well over 50 goals in all competitions was, in fact, Dixie Dean. It's his 36th Premier League goal of the season. So there's no doubt who's going to get the golden boot come the end of this season. But it's staggering to think that Erling Haaland has scored well over 50 goals in all competitions. It's just madness to think. Now Everton with decoy. They need one back now. Point towards Dominic Calvert-Lewin, with Manchester City called for Sunday. In fact, the flag had got up against Calvert-Lewin for offside. So Everton, you must got to say now, with lots of work to do. 2-0 down. This is the goal again. This is a terrific header, but to be allowed so much freedom inside the area, not even picked up by Mason Holgate at all, that's just criminal defending at any walk of life, on any level of football. To be given a free header like that, and Haaland, I mean, he's already scored 35 probably more difficult goals in his career this season. That's probably the easiest headed goal he'll ever have in his whole career. So 2-0 here at the moment. So Manchester City, as things stand, let me just bring up the league table at this moment in time. So as things stand at the moment, that will So as things stand at the moment in terms of the league table, Manchester City will go 4 points clear. They will move, if they hang on and get the victory, they move to 85 points. Arsenal, of course, will play the same number of games as Arsenal. So Arsenal, whatever happens today, must win against Brighton today if they're going to have any chance of keeping their hopes alive. And then they've got to travel Arsenal to Nottingham Forest, and that's not an easy game by any stretch of the imagination. So it's all in the multi-pot here. But Ilkmaar Gundogan, a goal and an assist for him, and Erling Haaland with the second one has put Manchester City in complete control. They've certainly, I mean, you look at the stats, Manchester City, you would say, do deserve it on the day, but it is tough on Everton in a lot of ways, because for 36 minutes this afternoon they pretty had City on the lock and key at that point, and then they just capitulated within 2 minutes, which is a real shame, really, from a competitive game point of view. Haaland went down there off the ball there. Yeremina just pushed him over, really. The battle to keep our eyes on as the game progresses towards the end of it later on. What a remarkable man this is. I mean, he came to Dortmund for 60 million quid, and there were a lot of question marks when he did. He didn't hit the heights he expected on the Community Shield, and we were all thinking that Liverpool's man for all seasons at the time. We were all thinking that Liverpool were going to really challenge Manchester City for the league when they won the Community Shield back in July. It's a real statement of intent there. But remember, this title race isn't over yet. If Arsenal go to Brighton and get a result, that will be back at 1 point. But the gap as things stand is at 4 points. City, and both teams will have played the same amount against Arsenal. Arsenal will have played the game more come the end of. So it's Manchester City's title to lose. There's no question about that. There's been another goal in the game at Brentford. Wisa with a second goal in 44 minutes has put Brentford 2-0 in the lead against West Ham, who were not entirely safe themselves, but will probably be buoyed by the fact that Everton are losing here anyway. It means that Manchester City, West Ham are not exactly safe themselves, but it's a disappointing afternoon at the moment down in West London for David Moyes' boys, who go from east to West London this afternoon. All right, going back east with their tails between their legs and no points. And a tricky trip to Holland as well in midweek against AZ Alkmaar, who fell 2-1, but they haven't had a away goal, of course, in the Conference League. So West Ham maybe thinking just get another result at home maybe next week and survive that way. So as things stand, West Ham are still on 37 points, Forest at 34, Everton as things stand at 32, but they were points above Leeds. This is a good result for Leeds in a lot of ways, because it keeps them battling for another week. Leicester as well, they'll be buoyed by that, considering they've got to take on Liverpool at the King Power tomorrow evening. That's an 8 o'clock kickoff. If we're not commentating on it on the TCL, we'll certainly be bringing you updates on our Twitter handle. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can follow us at Commentary Live 1 incidentally. 10 seconds of normal time to go at the end of the first half. Manchester City leading 2-0, but Everton get a good look at themselves. I'm just wondering how that missed chance from Mason Holgate might not come back to find a miss, but Foden goes in there. And Howard again looking for his second in Everton, and Manchester City's third. Couldn't get any purchase on there, but he comes to Morris. Morris trying to tease his man. Ball comes out to Rodri. City all over the place. A swarm of bees all over that Everton. Back line, 200 minutes at the end, and here's Walker that play back in there, and that was almost the third one there. And Manchester City almost in for goal number 3, which would have really put the answer to the cherry on the cake to a final 10 minutes, which really has belonged exclusively to Manchester City. So we're played 40 seconds of the 200 minutes at the end of the first half here on the TCM and all platforms. 2-0 is the scoreline between Everton and Manchester City to Manchester City. Brentford winning 2-0 in their game, 0-0 in that Women's FA Cup final between Manchester United and Chelsea, but Manchester United, I believe, have had a goal ruled out. So 4 points will be the difference. And we played the same amount of games, although Arsenal will play 36 by the end of play today against Brighton. Because Manchester City have got that second leg, of course, still at the Etihad between them and Real Madrid, and that was a real battle of chess. That was a real chess battle the other night, and had to show a bit of fight. Pep side scored a controversial goal. All did look at the play when De Bruyne put the ball in the back of the net, but City will take any look that's on offer. If it's going to win, then they'll work with the greatest prize. They're chasing the treble, of course. They're chasing the League Championship, the FA Cup, which they're in the final against Manchester United, who themselves are looking for a domestic cup double, of course, under Eric Ten Hag. Got back to winning ways yesterday at Old Trafford. And of course, they could well be in the European Cup final on the 10th of June as well. So City's season could stretch into an 11th month will stretch into an 11th month because the Cup final is on June the 3rd. And if they were to reach the European Cup final, it would be June the 10th as the whistle goes for half time. So, White Gundogan, in my opinion, has been the player of the first half so far for Manchester City. A goal and an assist for him. Terrific goal to get City up and running. And then 2 minutes later, that came after 37 minutes, then Haaland 2 minutes later with a free header after poor marking really from Mason Holgate, 6 yards out. He usually buries them. That's his 36th goal in the league this season. Well over 50 in all competitions. This man is some phenomenon. And at half time, Goodison Park, and it's a real shame really from a game point of view because Everton for 37 minutes of that first half before the goal came in had absolutely kept Manchester City in their back pockets. A real shame that from Everton's point of view, but if they're going to get anything out of it now, they must do it in the second half and do it. A, not conceding against Manchester City, and B, having to score 2 goals, which is very hard against any opposition, let alone Manchester City. Okay, we're going back to Rushford in the studio, but here at Goodison Park, it's a bit flat amongst the Everton fans at the moment. The Man City fans obviously quite delighted about it. They're going 4 points clear as it stands, with Arsenal to play. But at half time here, Russ, it's Everton 0, Manchester City 2.
Thank you very much there to JB. Will be back with us in round about 15 minutes or so of time. Make sure you stay tuned in and make sure you're listening for JB coming back with us in a few minutes time from there. So we're going to go back to JB very shortly in plenty of time for kick-off of the second period. Man City leading by 2 goals to 0. We'll take you through some of the other scores today, and then if you missed it earlier, we'll get you how the League One, Championship and League Two games finished yesterday in the playoffs, with Nicholas Jones just during our half-time break, but we had that on early part of the show, but we're going to fetch you back for half-time as well. So we'll get Nicholas back with us we'll fetch Nicholas back with us to go through that shortly. And we're just going to go through some of the half-time scores and some of the other matches and some latest scores as well. So we'll start off with today's matches in the Premier League and the half-time scores from the both 2 o'clock kickoffs. As we know, you'll know about this one, so I'll mention this in a second, but it's Brentford 2, West Ham 0. JB bringing you goal alerts when he can on that game. He's bringing you commentary on Everton against Manchester City, who are 2-0 up. All the Citizens against the Toffees. Arsenal take on Brighton at 4:30, joining Paul James and myself from around about 4:15 with the action and build up to that game there. We're now just going to quickly, before we move across to do the Championship from today, and head into the National League South and say congratulations to Oxford City after they won promotion to the National League from National League South, beating St Albans City 4-0 in the playoff final this afternoon. In the Women's FA Cup, latest score is Chelsea 0, Manchester United 0. Manchester United had a goal disallowed early on for offside with a VAR decision there. In French League 1, Clermont 2, Lyon 1, is Brest nil, Auxerre nil, Montpellier nil, Lorient nil, Rennes 1, Troyes nil. Toulouse against Nantes has been delayed. That should have kicked off at 2 o'clock. Delayed by 90 minutes. Will now start at 3:30. They're now unsure on the delay there. We'll try and find out the delay there. Monaco against Lille is at 4:05. And Marseille Angers is at 7:45 this evening. We'll go through some of the other half times in a moment. Excuse me, as we're now going to fetch in and say a very good afternoon to our good friend and esteemed colleague that we've got with us on the commentary hub, who is Nicholas Jones, who's going to take you through how Barnsley and Bolton got on yesterday. Over to you, Mr. Nicholas Jones.
Thanks, Russ. After an action-packed first half, both sides were goalless at the break, but it was Barnsley who took the lead when midfielder Nicky Cadden came out of nowhere to fire the ball into the bottom left corner shortly after the hour mark. Bolton struck back 5 minutes later as Randall Williams almost sent it in, but a poor save by Tykes stopper Harry Isted gave their top scorer Dion Charles the rebound he needed to head the ball into goal. Both sides finished the match 1-1, and it will all be decided at Oakwell on Friday with everything to play for.
Thank you very much there to Nicholas Jones with that report there from League One. We're going to head into the Championship now, and Nicholas again will be here with us again in a moment. He's just standing by, getting ready for this. What a bit of time he's going to be needing to talk to us, as he will now tell us all about Sunderland's game against Luton Town yesterday at the Stadium of Light. Over to you, Nick.
Sunderland are looking for their second consecutive promotion in a row, having reached the Championship via the League One playoffs last season. They had stiff opposition in the form of Luton Town, who took an early lead through a right footer from Elijah Adebayo. The Black Cats hit back 6 minutes from half-time when Amad Diallo's free kick after Alex Pritchard passed him the ball rocketed into the top left corner. Trey Hume's header from a Jack Clark cross ensured the game was theirs, as the Luton defenders did not have time to react. The 2-1 victory puts Sunderland in good shape for the second leg on Tuesday, and if they repeat the form they showed yesterday, history could well repeat itself. Luton, on the other hand, have some catching up to do.
Thank you very much there to Nicholas Jones, who provided us that little report earlier this afternoon as well. And just tell you a bit about the other Championship game before we go into the League Two game from yesterday. It was a goalless draw between Coventry City and Middlesbrough earlier on this lunchtime. It kicked off at 12 o'clock at the CBS Arena. Chubrakpom had a fantastic effort which saw the goalkeepers hit the goalkeeper's gloves and the post. Middlesbrough then had a penalty appeal which was waved away because after it was a fair challenge. Isaiah Jones came close to scoring for Middlesbrough and putting them into the lead when his effort just fired a shot straight at Ben Wilson. Coventry were lucky to be level at the break when a controversial goal angered Middlesbrough's Isaiah Jones, who saw a goal ruled out for offside. Replay showed it was just onside. Into the second half, and there was no real action in the second half in terms of goal-mouth action, as the game ended all square 0-0. The second leg of the game will come up on Wednesday evening with it all to play for at the Riverside Stadium. Elsewhere then, and we're now going to go back to Nicholas Jones, who will be able to tell us in a second or so, as we just get ready for, as Nicholas just prepares himself for one last appearance on this part of the programme again, with how the game between Salford City and Stockport County fared in the game last night, as he saw so that provided us with this report on the game.
Like Sunderland, Stockport County are also looking for their second consecutive promotion, but last year's National League winners were overpowered by Salford City. Matt Smith took advantage of an Elliot Watt cross before 20 minutes to put the Ammies in front. Conor McAlhenney went for the double in the second half, but Stockport goalkeeper Ben Hinchcliffe denied him the chance. Stockport were without key players due to injury, but their resilience made sure they are still in with a chance of reaching the final in the second leg next Saturday. Salford will equally push us hard as they aim to reach football's third tier for the first time in their history.
It finished Salford 1, Stockport County 0. Thank you very much there to Nicholas Jones for those 3 reports there. Now we're going to get on to find out the rest of the scores. We're starting with the German Bundesliga. Stuttgart 0 by Leverkusen 0 after just 29 minutes of action there. In the game between Italian Serie A's Verona 0, Torino 1 is a full-time score. At half-time is Fiorentina 1, Udinese 0 and Monza 1, Napoli 0. Evening kickoffs for Bologna against Roma at 5 o'clock and Juventus Cremonese should I say, at 7:45. In the Spanish La Liga, finished Celta Vigo 1, 10-man Valencia 2. Elche against Atletico Madrid is an afternoon kickoff at 3:15. An evening kickoff for Real Valladolid against Sevilla at 5:30. And at 8 o'clock is Espanyol against Barcelona. That's the results to tell you all about then. Big thank you to Nicholas for appearing on the channel as we, with those reports on the matches took place yesterday in the playoffs in the Championship, League 1 and, of course, League 2. We're getting ready to hand back to our good friend and JB very shortly for the second half. The players will be heading back out any moment now. Well, just a little bit of an incident happened in the game yesterday, which Leeds United have released a statement about, and got a further update on that as well to tell you. First of all, for those who watched Leeds United against Newcastle yesterday, Leeds United fan managed to get onto the field of play and provided and appeared to assault Eddie Howe. Leeds United after the game released a short statement that said, Leeds United can confirm for an incident at our Premier League match against Newcastle United today. An arrest has been made and a lifetime ban has also been issued. Leeds United it was then reported by local media today that a man has been charged with assault after he ran onto the pitch during Leeds' Premier League game against Newcastle. It finished a 2-2 draw at Elland Road. A spectator was reported to have got into the managerial technical area from the Omen during the second half of the match. He's thought to have approached Newcastle manager Eddie Howe before being removed by security staff. West Yorkshire Police have said the man has been charged with an assault and entering the field of play at Elland Road on Saturday 13th of May. He has been bailed to appear before magistrates on 21st of July. There's also another statement coming out of Leeds United, which I am saddened and shocked that I'm going to be reading this out here now, which with this statement, and Leeds United released this statement. Overnight, Leeds United striker Patrick Bamford and his family have received completely unacceptable online abuse, including several threats via Twitter. Leeds say this is the time for this behaviour to stop is now. Those making threats do not reflect our fan base and are welcome at our club. We would like to thank all those supporters who have reached out to Patrick and his family to show their support. And everyone here at the commentary hub is appalled by the decisions of some minority Leeds United supporters who chose to do that to Patrick and his family yesterday. Congratulations as well to Notts County, who won 4-3 on penalties after a 2-2 draw against Chesterfield at Wembley yesterday. They are now promoted to League 2 along with Wrexham. So big congratulations to Notts County. So, shocking news coming out of Ellen Road, not only to do with the match yesterday, but also with social media reports as well today. Right then, without any further ado, as the players are emerging from the tunnel there, I can see is Neil Maupay, who is about to come on as a substitute, as he was on the bench in the first half for Everton. He's back out, just taking on some fluids as the rest of the players are about to emerge in a moment or two for Everton and Manchester City. With that in mind and ready, so JB can tell us who he will be replacing in just a moment or so. It's time for me to hand back over to the man in the commentary box for us this afternoon. And JB, it's time for me to hand back over to you, my friend. It appears we've just not got JB at the moment there. We'll get back.
Hello everyone, I'm back.
JB is now back with us, guys. So with news of a change for Everton, as we've seen him all play about to come on, and who he's going to replace, he's over to JB to tell us all that information.
Thanks, Ross. And can I just echo our sympathies and discuss the online abuse suffered by Patrick Bamford as well. Suffered by Patrick Bamford as well. It was a really disgusting thing for anyone to take on online, and I think Twitter especially has to clean up its act. And if Elon Musk is listening, please clean up your act, because it's your platform now. You've bought it. Cut the abuse out. It's disappointing when I hear stories like that. And thank you and I think Russ was right to bring that up. Erling Haaland has just entered the field of play. Neil Maupay has come on. We'll confirm just a second or two who he has actually replaced. Very, very disheartening scenes from Leeds yesterday. The guy who assaulted Eddie Howe, I'm glad he's been remanded and banned for life, and I think that's a good move from Leeds United to ban him for that. But the Twitter abuse is just unacceptable, and it's not even allowed on any social media platform, let alone football. Anyway, in more happier news, if you're a Manchester City fan, you're 2-0 up. Erling Haaland has scored his 52nd goal of the season, or his 52nd goal of the season in all competitions. Still 0-0 in the Women's FA Cup final, incidentally. And Dominic Calvert-Lewin is the man that we believe has been replaced by Neil Maupay, who hasn't really hit the ground running this season since his move from Brighton at the end of the season. He was brought there, of course, under Frank Lampard. So just to run through the team's query quickly. So it's Jordan Pickford, the captain, in goal for Everton. James Tarkowski, Nathan Patterson, Mason Allgett and Yeremina across the back. Idrissa Gueye, Dwight McNeil, Decore, Awobi and Garner. And Dominic Calvert-Lewin has been replaced by Neil Maupay in this second half. Manchester City, handball against Welby on the edge of the Manchester City box, free kick to Manchester City, obviously. For Manchester City themselves, who at this stage of proceedings will go 4 points clear, with Arsenal to play later on, but they'll play the same amount again by the time City are finished. It's Edison in goal for them. Kyle Walker, Ruben Dias, Lam-Eric Laporte and Manuel Akanji across the back. Then it's Ilkay Gundogan who got the first goal. That was his 8th goal of the season. Rodri, Julian Alvarez, Riyad Mahrez, Phil Foden and Erling Haaland, who not only scored his 52nd goal in all competition, but his 36th overall in the Premier League this season. It's just a terrific statistic. And the last time someone got 52 goals in a season, you'd have to probably go back to the days of the old Everton and Dixie Dean, who I think scored 60 in one season, way back in the late 40s, early 50s. Dixie Dean, a terrific striker of his obvious generation. But Erling Haaland is a terrific talent. Whether you think he would prosper in a lesser that remains to be seen. But he showed great promise at Borussia Dortmund, his previous club, and certainly Pep Guardiola saw enough in him really to bring him to Manchester City. And boy, has he repaid the big transfer fee, something like £65 million they paid for him in the summer. I mean, I commentated on his first game at the Charity Shield, and I didn't think much of him then. But my word, as he made me eat my words this season and some, because 52 goals in a single year. The last time someone got even that far in a season in all competitions was Clive Owen in 86-87 when he scored 49 goals for Tottenham. That included a goal in the FA Cup final that year, but they lost, of course, to Coventry City that day 3-2. So just to remind you that Dominic Calvert-Lewin has been substituted, and Neil Maupay, the man they got from Brighton, has come on. Hasn't really done much in the way of goal scoring since he's come to Everton. He has had a lot of criticism for him. He's away from the locals here at Goodison. But going back to the Patrick Bamford thing, yeah, it's I mean, I didn't really know about that until Russ told everybody during that half-time sequence that he'd been socially abused by his family and received threats. As Foden comes forward, he'll win a free kick, and the first yellow card of the game goes to James Garner of Everton. I think Foden's a lot less hurt than he's making it out to be, and also, yeah, it is a foul, but I think Foden again just making it a little meal of it there. Or is he? I mean, unless he's injured himself on the follow through as he's falling down. I mean that could be quite painful, really. If it's the knee, maybe I'm a little overreacting there. Whilst there's a breaking play, I just want to. I'm sure everyone at the commentary will echo what I'm going to say. I mean, we've got Bradford coming up tonight, of course, with Nicholas Jones, of course, in that playoff. But I want to just, while we're on the subject of Bradford at this point, as Spalding is receiving treatment, incidentally, you're not missing any of the action. I just want to give a shout out to the 56 who died on that sad afternoon in May 1985 in that terrible fire at Bradford. I mean, it was. If you watch, it's on YouTube. There's clips of the fire on YouTube, and it's a very horrendous watch. So if you're squeamish, I wouldn't watch it if I were you. I'd read up about it before actually watching the actual footage. It's very raw. But 56 supporters went to a football match on the 11th of May 1985 and never came home. And we at the TCO, like we do every year for Hillsborough, I'm going to make it a plea with the TCO to do a little bit of respect for the people who died, of course, at Bradford. It has been known as a forgotten tragedy, and I hope Nicholas Jones does something in his piece before the kick-off to highlight the fact that 56 supporters did go to a football game and never come home. But but I'm sure you'll echo what I'm going to say now, that the TCO still, even 38 years on, extends its sympathies to those, to the victims and the families of those who died on the 11th of May 1985 and that terrible fire at Bradford City. Right, back to today, and it's Gundogan with the free kick. He's had a super match so far, certainly up there for man of the match. 4-man in the Everton wall. There's a 2-man Manchester City in front of that, and Gundogan has scored a magnificent free kick with the right foot. That will settle the game as far as I'm concerned. Manchester City are going 4 points clear, having played the same amount of games as Arsenal. And it's over to you, Arsenal, now. We've raised you, says Manchester City. And now they've sent a signal of intent to Arteta's boys down at the Emirates now. Come on. See if you can beat Brighton now. We've set you the challenge. Beat Brighton. And Manchester City are cruising to victory here at Goodison Park. It's Everton 0, Manchester City 3. This is good news for Leeds. This is good news for Nottingham Forest. And good news for Leicester, all in the one full sweep as far as the relegation is concerned. But I'm sure Sean Dyche, when he looked at the fixtures, knew that there were more winnable games than this one, to be fair. Manchester City are just a class apart. And Pep Guardiola, from the moment he knew full well, when the moment he left Gundogan's right foot, he knew straight away it was in. So did everyone in Goodison Park. That is a terrific free-kick goal. That's his second, and Manchester City's third. That's his 8th goal of the season. That's his 8th goal in the Premier League this season, and that's his second today. So that's 9 for the season for him in all competitions. Just one off the magical 10 now in all comps. Meanwhile, it's Foden now for Manchester City. They're running riot here in the second half, and why not? And Russ, obviously, echoing what I was saying about the 56 who died on the 11th of May 85. That's yeah. Thank you very much for that touching. Thank you, that, and I hope Nicholas, if you're listening, Nicholas, please, echo what I've just said. You're up there at Bradford today. It'd be nice for the families to hear comforting news. And that the Bradford Fire. Manchester City are on the attack, but they're not doing much with it. It's been known as the forgotten tragedy. It should never be forgotten. It should be up there with it should be remembered, really. Well, it's 56. It's more like Hillsborough, 97 supporters went to a football match, never came home. Why haven't their Forest is still from Hillsborough never been prosecuted? I will never know. The South Yorkshire Police, I've got lots of questions to answer as far as Hillsborough is concerned. But anyway, and I'm sure, there's a lot of families here at Goodison Park who have been traumatised by Hillsborough as well, even though they're not Liverpool supporters. They have their family, because in Merseyside, your families, you are either red or blue in this Merseyside, and there are families that half are Everton, half Liverpool. So even if you're an Everton fan, you're always affected by what happened on the 15th of April 1989 as well. Anyway, we'll talk about Manchester City's great performance now rather than bring up tragedies. But I just thought, with it being the anniversary of the Bradford Fire, I thought it was something that needed to be said. And I did percentage goals because of the families of the 56 who went to a football match and never came home. Anyway, Gundogan's got a free kick again for Manchester City. Can he whip another one with his rifle? He's on a hat-trick, of course, now. Oh, my Gundogan, he's going to leave it as well. Oh, takes the deflection, and it's been kicked almost off the line there by Patterson. Or Garner, rather, sorry. Free kick got a deflection of Tarkowski, and Garner had to get it away almost off the line. So 54 minutes played here at Goodison Park. It's Everton 0, Manchester City 3. Gundogan's getting a terrific round of applause from the travelling faithful away to my left-hand side. It's been a remarkable match, really, in a lot of ways. He's been the player of the match, in my opinion, Gundogan. I know it's a bit early to start awarding things, but if Ladbrokes had a bet now for player of the match, he's certainly the odds-on favourite. As that ball's whipped in there, he's looking for another assist for Erling Haaland that time, but Haaland couldn't grow enough there. Excuse me. This is the free kick again. This is the angle from inside the goal I'm looking at, and well, Pickford hasn't got a price as soon as he's struck it, has he? That is just a sensational free kick from Gundogan, the German. He's just one of those players that he's tricky to play against, but you'd always want him in your team. We're going to see Onana and Connor Cody come on now for Everton. A rich stretch on substitutions. Mopai came on as an attacking change. Ellis Sims is still on the bench, but just a guy who's back in his second spell. It hasn't quite worked out for him there. He's been replaced. Can't tell you who Cody's come on for. Presumably a defender. But you can tell by the anguish on the Everton players' faces that they've really let themselves down today. When they were so good defensively for 37 minutes this afternoon, it seemed as if they could nick a really big result. But Mason Holgate, who's probably culpable A for the miss at 0-0, and then B for not picking up Ireland on the second Manchester City goal. And he's gone off for Connor Cody, and just a gate off, and Onana now on for Everton, as they will have to try. The game's out of reach for me now. They can't win it, but they have to try and win this second half at least. If they can win at least 2-1 in this second half, in terms of the 45 minutes, to get the bigger picture. The City are going to get the points, but here come Everton now. They've got to show a bit of fight in the next sort of 34 minutes plus injury time. If they can do that, it will all bode well for the future. This was not. I'm sure realistically, if Everton fans are listening, this was never going to be a realistic result where you were going to get points from, even at home. Because Manchester City in the last few weeks have been unstoppable as far as Premier League is concerned. They just haven't, in a lot of respects, put too many feet wrong, and it's just been pretty good. They've always got the experience of this running, and they're so good at it. It's unbelievable. As the cross comes in from the far side from Everton, but it's out of play. It's a poor cross from Dwight McNeil. It's the first time I've commentated on an Everton shirt this afternoon, and I've got to be honest with you. I mean, it's been done really well, but Sean Dyche knows there's two bigger games to come going forward for Everton. If we look at their fixture list now, it's going to be a tough one running for them. In the other scores, still 2-0 to Brentford, incidentally, in the other game that's taking place. That also kicked off at 2 o'clock. And Gundogan, whose contract is out in the summer, surely that's got to get him a new deal. I mean, Pep Guardiola knows he's worth. Surely that it's got to get him a new contract. Coventry 0, Middlesbrough 0 in the playoffs. That's a full-time score. And in the Women's FA Cup final, they're to stoppage time at the end of the first half at Wembley. Still Chelsea 0, Manchester United 0. But by all accounts, Emma Hayes' side, or conquering Chelsea women, being frustrated by a terrific, resilient Manchester United at the moment. We'll keep you updated with any second half, and then, of course, we'll keep you updated with the climax during Paul's match at 4:25 this afternoon. That's our second live commentary of the afternoon. Arsenal against Brighton. So it's Arsenal. The pressure will be cranked up on them later on in the piece. Half time, in fact, in the Women's FA Cup final at Wembley, and indeed it's Chelsea 0, Manchester United 0 in that one. And there's a few comments from Mike Hardeman coming in there, and Everton looking to get one back here inside the penalty area from the corner. They're claiming handball, I think, Everton. They will check it on VAR, but Anthony Taylor didn't seem too interested in the protest. Here's McNeil as the ball is lofted into the penalty area. Conor Cody had stayed forward from the original corner. The Corey has turned that on nicely. Now can the ball be played in nicely by Patterson? Not really. And it will be an Everton throw. This is what Everton have got to do. They can't give up. The game's gone, but they've got to show a little bit of resilience. Now, is this a penalty? Well, it comes off Diaz's putting onto his arm. I don't think you can give a penalty for that. And VAR checked it, and they're okay with it. Here come Manchester City again, looking for number 4, and here's Foden. Just been dragged to the left a little bit. Foden's crossed towards Harwood. He tried to volley it, and volleyed he does, but he's volleyed it well wide. It would have been a magnificent volleyed goal if he'd connected with that. He didn't connect it as well as I think he would have liked to have done Erling Haaland, in all fairness to him. But it would have been a wonderful goal if he had executed that perfectly. And that would have been goal number 53 if he did struck that one into the back of the net. Anyway, Mike's praising me on the Bradford tribute as well. And of course, Mike, obviously, well done as well. I've got to echo well done to Notts County. I mean, that was a terrific title race between them and Wrexham, wasn't it? That was one of the great features of the season, outside the Football League and the Premier League, wasn't it? The title race between Wrexham and Notts County, and I think if there was any football injustice in the world, it was Notts County to win the playoffs, and they did win it. And they had to do it on penalties, admittedly, but they left it very late in the day to get an equaliser in that final. But just goes to show, even at non-league, the football is just as dramatic and just as entertaining. So never dish non-league football when you see it. In the Premier League, though, in the top flight, it's Everton 0, Manchester City 3. Everton knew that this was going to be a toughie from the word go today. They're going to count on themselves for 37 minutes, but City have just took control. But here's Patterson with a cross into the penalty area. And Everton now with half an hour to go. They know possibly that the game is out of reach for them in terms of a victory and a draw. But if they can nick a couple of goals and really make life a little bit interesting for Manchester City, I think the fans will appreciate that a little bit more. What they won't want to do is go down with a whimper. They can't afford to, because morale does not want to be taking a big knock going into 2 more important games at the end of the season, which could decide their destiny. They did it with 2 games to spare last season when they beat Palace in that terrific game at Goodison, where we had all the flares and the fans on the field. And it's a real shame that at the end of next season we're going to say goodbye to this great old ground. It's given us so many footballing memories over the years. Goodison Park, one of the great atmospheric grounds, and a traditional roaring ground which creates a very special cocktail of lethal cocktail of an atmosphere. It really does. It's when they go to Bramley Docks at the end of next season, it's going to be quite sad, really. That Goodison Park will be no longer a fixture with commentators and fellow players alike, because it's one of the great grounds of modern of all time in English football, not just modern times, but of old time, really. Just to give you a date with the scorelines elsewhere. Celta Vigo 1, Valencia 2. That's a result, incidentally, so a good win there for Valencia in La Liga. In Serie A, we played Torino and won against Verona 1-0. That's a full-time score, so Torino won. Fiorentina 1, Udinese 0. And the champions, newly crowned Scudetto champions Napoli, are getting a footballing lesson from Monza. Monza 2, Napoli 0. There's 2 other games tonight. Bologna and Roma kick off at 5 o'clock British time. And Juventus and Cremonese kick off at 7:45. In the Liga, Lyon have been beaten 2-1 by Clermont. That's a big result for them. Great result. Brest 0, Auxerre 0. That's a greater score. 62 minutes to be played. Same with Montpellier and Lorient. That's 62 minutes. And also the game between Rennes and Troyes is 62 minutes old, but Rennes lead by a goal to 0. So that's just some of the European flavour that we can bring you as well. It's Peter Reid there, an ex-Evertonian and an ex-Manchester City player. He's had a foot in both camps over the years. He's an inspirational player at our Kendall side of 85. And Joe Royle is also in the crowd as well, a former Everton manager. The last Everton manager to win a trophy, of course, Joe Royle. The FA Cup in 1995, Paul Rideout's goal and all that. Last time Everton won a major piece of silverware for a club like them. I know they're pulling on hard times and they're struggling at the wrong end of the Premier League table, but for a club of Everton's stars and stature and history, for that to be their last major trophy. I know they won the Charity Shield that year as well, but for the last trophy, last time they've won many meaningful silverware, 95, is not good enough, really. Our team, certainly in Howard Kendall and Harry Catterick's time, prized themselves on being nothing but the best, as their Latin symbol on their club badge would suggest. Anything other than the best today, unfortunately. But when you play Manchester City, it can be very, very disheartening sometimes. Anyway, here's Dwight McNeil. He won't give up the ghost. He tries a shot and deflects, and it bounces away for an Everton corner. That's got the Goddess Street a little bit pumped up here. Now, just one goal here will just make things a touch interesting here for Everton. They just need one goal and just make Manchester City just think a little bit, possibly. They've got to go for it now. They may as well have a goal here. 3-0 down, they've got nothing much else to lose. They can nick a couple of goals back and make it tough for them. That so much the better for the future. As far as the next 2 games are concerned, as the corner came in, but Edison was fouled. Tarkowski had been a little bit too rough with him, or rather, it wasn't a foul. In fact, goalkeeper put it out. He was challenging hard with Mopai, and then had to fist it their way. There was no foul on the goalkeeper, quite obviously. So Everton have got a second opportunity here from a corner kick. Just one goal could do it for them. And it goes towards the back post. Header one, and it's a terrific header at that. And another great save. It was Tarkowski then with the header. And Edison having to tip that over. That's a really good save. It's a good corner from Dwight McNeil. And the old Burnley duo nearly paying dividends again, albeit possibly the losing cause, but that would have been a wonderful moment for Everton just to get a little bit of something out of this now. At least they're having a go. McNeil tries again for the 3rd time, and he goes up down the head, and the header bounces. It's a header that bounced off the ground and over the top. It was Yerry Mina with the header, this time at the far post. But 2 good chances for Everton to get something on the scoreboard, and they almost profited from it. Decent header, but bounce maybe when he headed it down, maybe the bounce was just too much. West Ham, in fact, have pulled a goal back at Brentford. We'll let you know the goal scorer in just a second, but West Ham have scored. It's 2-1 now at the G-Tech Stadium. So it's not all cut and dry yet for Brentford as far as 3 points are concerned. West Ham battling back into that one. 2-1 is the score. Danny Ings has scored for West Ham United in that game. So 2-1. 67 minutes gone in both games. Everton 0, Manchester City 3. Well, it's been confirmed on social media that Karkowski's original header hit the top of the crossbar actually and came back away. So into that, if you will. So anyway, 67 and a bit, half minutes gone, and still, I think it's no more than consolation if Everton were to score in any of the game from here to eternity. Still Brentford, so as I say, 2-1, but I think the goal has been chalked off. I believe at I've got a funny feeling that it's gone back to 2-0. I'm told. The goal has been disallowed for handball. So the Danny Ings goal that we announced to you has been disallowed. It's been disallowed for handball by the VAR down at Brentford, and West Ham find themselves still 2 goals down. 68 gone here at Goodison Park. It's Everton 0, Manchester City 3. But Everton have had a couple of good chances though. Yeremina and James Tarkowski hitting the crossbar, and it's been that sort of afternoon really. As Foden tries to dart in behind and can't, and it's a goal kick anyway to Everton. 69 minutes almost played. Coming up to the last 20 minutes of the second half, and I think I've got a very good feeling that the player of the match might be a lot more of a easier call than it has been in the last couple of commentaries I've had down at up at Blackpool and then down at Palace, which was my last commentary game, which ended 4-3. Now I just wonder, have Everton got it in them to score 4 in 20 minutes? That would just be beyond anything that I'd ever seen in football prior to that. But Everton have just got to keep plugging away, just keep making a few chances, and Manchester City I think are content at 3-0. They're in a good position. 2-0 is always the dangerous lead, but 3 it's a very hard slog to come back from. So Everton have just got to keep going, plugging away, just make it difficult as they can for Manchester City, and just try and win the second half at least, and just give them a little bit of a boost. They won't get, even if they don't get any points out of this one today, just win your second half, win the battles, because they've got 2 big games coming up in the next sort of couple of weeks, which will decide their fate more than they will today. To be perfectly honest, they're still above the dotted line anyway, so there is that aspect to consider. But Everton, it's all going to be down on the last 2 games now for them, I'm afraid to say. So yeah, but we'll just have to see really. But Everton 0, Manchester City 0. If you've just joined us, Gundogan after 37 and 51, Haaland after 39, and that's been the story of the first half. For 36 minutes though, Everton were as good as they got. But the next 2 Everton fixtures, away at Wolves on the 20th of May. That is a big game in the true sense of the word. And the other game will be at home to Bournemouth. It will be, you would think, already safe by then and probably on the holidays. So they've got 2 good chances here. Wolves, who are probably now safe, you would fancy, from relegation. And Bournemouth, they've got very winnable games, both away at Molineux next week on the 20th and then on the 28th of May, 2 weeks today. They've got another winnable fixture, you think, against Bournemouth, and I'm sure Goodison Park will be always a bang up for that one, you would think. Anyway, here's Manjin And Kanji now for Manchester City. They're cruising at the moment. They don't need to panic. They're just playing the ball about, passing the ball around at walking pace at the moment. They're very contented to stay, keep it at 3. Three fresh goals for you to mull around the commentary hub this afternoon. I hope you've enjoyed the commentary. Keep commenting, of course. And of course, stay with us because at 4:25 this afternoon, 4:30 kickoff, I'll be handing over the commentary hub microphone to Paul James, who will be bringing you kick-by-kick commentary, alternate commentary from the Emirates Stadium between Arsenal and Brighton, who have had such a good season under Roberto De Zerbi. They're still with an outside chance of European football for the first time in the club's history. We'll just break off for a second because here come Manchester City looking for a 4th one. The crossing towards the far post where Erling Haaland was waiting with intent. It was a poor cross from Akanji, but nevertheless, it still remains 3-0 to Manchester City. And then that's not the end of the game, the commentaries, because then Paul will hand over the commentary mic to Nicholas Jones up at Valley Parade tonight for that League 2 playoff semi-final between Bradford City and Carlisle United. That kicks off at 7 o'clock. Nicholas Jones will be with you on all platforms for that one. A real Sunday hat-trick of live commentary on the TC Hub from 2 different competitions. And of course, we'll keep you updated with the Women's FA Cup final as well throughout this programme and of course Paul James's programme when myself and Russ Vernon have come off the air around about 4 o'clock this afternoon. Coming up towards the final quarter of an hour here on the TC Hub. First of 3 live commentary games from 2 different competitions for you this afternoon. Here's McNeil on the far side. McNeil takes on Walker. Just in Everton not preparing to give up. Welby's lost possession. But Neil really didn't help his cause neither. And here come Gundogan. Odds on favourites maybe to win by the match in every possible sense. And Haaland is in now. And Patterson had to get there. Then there was a possible appeal for a penalty there, but Haaland seemed to fall over rather clumsily, to be fair. Pickford did have a little hand on it, but I don't think it was enough for the referee to say penalty. They will check it, of course, on the VAR, of course, but I think Haaland went down far too easily. No foul there on Iwobi, incidentally. Haaland, Pep Guardiola thinks there should have been a penalty. He is banging on Bernardo Silva, however. And the referee, the ball is out of play. I think, let's have a look whether this was a penalty or not. I mean, he's pushed it. I mean, he's touched him in his face, but I think Haaland is one. I think Haaland has gone down a little too easily here. I mean, Patterson doesn't help the goalkeeper's cause by moving it in the air, getting in the keeper's way. But I mean, does he? I mean, he's brushed his head. If anything, I don't think you could give a penalty for that. That would be. I mean, if VAR were to overturn it for that reason, I think they would be foolish to do so. And Garner has gone straight down the tunnel. As Everton make another change here. It's been a disappointing afternoon for Everton, all concerned. Damari Gray has come on. Bernardo Silva waiting to come on for Manchester City. Sean Dyche will be fuming, but he will know realistically that this wasn't going to define the game this season. They've got 2 chances to pick up 6 points, which will get them to safety. They've got Wolves next week at Molineux. That's a winnable game because Wolves will be on the holiday. Mind you, Wolves will probably want to finish with a flourish in front of their own fans. They're safe, but they'll have a big say on who goes down, of course. And then next week, and then in 2 weeks' time here at Goodison Park on the 27th of May, it will be Bournemouth, who are already safe, rather shouting, at Goodison Park, and they'll be bang up for that one there if it comes to the last day, and it's them and Leeds and Leicester battling it out to stay in the division. Forest have got Arsenal next weekend in their last home game. If they can get a result from that one next Saturday, which you'll hear when there's on the TC Hub, by the way, then that will be a terrific achievement for them. I think there's a chance here for Onana inside the penalty area. He just couldn't get it out from under his feet, and the chance is gone. It's under the 27th for me. Yeah, apologies there, not the 27th. All the Premier League games, of course, as I should know. I've been covering this league now for about 7-8 years. Finish on a Sunday now, every other year, not Saturday. Last Saturday of the season will be next weekend. And so, Gundogan, one of my candidates for man of the match, and certainly this man here, Erling Haaland, he's certainly an opportunity. He's certainly a shoe in there. Haaland was making his way off here. I wonder what. They're showing a replay of Haaland going up towards the benches here. Now, I'm going to keep my hands across this one. Is he having an argument with Pep Guardiola? Well, he's off now. Grealish is on, and so is Bernardo Silva. Gundogan's the other player that's been replaced. So Gundogan and Haaland are off. Bernardo Silva and Jack Grealish both on. I'm not sure whether the TV cameras should have followed Haaland there as he was coming off and showed a replay. I think that was completely pointless from Sky TV, who are covering the match this afternoon. I think Sky like to make a big issue out of complete nonsense, really. Haaland will realise himself he's got a bigger game ahead of him on Wednesday night when they take on Real Madrid in that second leg. Evenly poised at 1 apiece, that one. You'll be able to hear that in midweek on the TC Hub, hopefully. If not, you can follow us. You can follow updates on Twitter at Commentary Live 1, which is our special Commentary Hub Twitter handle. Please follow us if you can. And if you are a subscriber to any of our participating channels, whether it's JB Sports, Storm FM, or TC Hub or TC Hub 2, please don't forget to hit a like, whichever platform you're listening on. Hit the subscribe button and hit the notifications bell, because you might be getting a bit more. You might be getting a couple more notifications later on, because we're not done with the commentaries after this one. I can tell you. Paul James will be on the air at 4:25 with Arsenal against Brighton, another big game in the title race. And Arsenal, if they do win that game, will go back to within 1 point, but they'll have played a game more than Manchester City. And then, of course, that League 2 playoff at Valley Parade, that's first leg semi-final between Bradford City under Mark Hughes and Carlisle United. 6:55, we start the programme. 7 o'clock kick-off with Nicholas Jones. He's been a very busy lad over the EFL the last couple of days. All those reports you've been hearing during the pre-match and half-time sequences that we've brought you this afternoon. I hope you've enjoyed those little reports. Nicholas Jones, I'm also pleased to say, we'll be presenting our supplementary coverage of the FA Cup final in less than 3 weeks' time on June the 3rd. 3 o'clock kick-off for the big Mancunian derby. And we wish Nicholas the very best of luck for his first ever cup final as a presenter. We wish him all the best, and we'll all be there, all the usual suspects. Russ will be there alongside me in the commentary box. Paul James will be also alongside me in the commentary box. They will be co-commentators, incidentally, for that match. I'll be lead commentator for that game, and it was the first time that we've had 2 co-commentators on a commentary before. So we're pushing to new frontiers at the Commentary Hub. Always trying new ideas, new frontiers, and everything else. And Manchester City will be involved that day. They'll be hoping it'll be the second possible leg of a treble, because they're in the shout of Europe, of course. And of course, they're going to go 5 points as it stands ahead of Arsenal at the top of the Premier League table. And we'll check Manchester City's last 2 fixtures, of course, when we get a couple of minutes to play. We played 81 minutes then at Goodison Park, and it's strongly paced now for Manchester City, if that's to be believed. Don't forget, we'll have every gig that matters, and of course on the 28th of May, whatever happens, we'll have whether the title race is still to be decided or whether the relegation issues are still to be decided. We'll be all over it on the TC on the last day of the Premier League. 2 weeks today, folks. 2 weeks today. and we were going to plan. It may well still come down to any 2 from 4. Everton, you can be sure, will still be in the mix. Leeds will still be in the mix. Forest will still be in the mix, and depending on Leicester City, maybe they'll be in the mix. It could be any 2 from. It could be 2 from 3 by then. Because Forest will be involved on the last day. You can bet your bottom dollar unless they beat Arsenal next weekend, which is another match you can hear on the commentary of, incidentally. And of course, you've got Everton against Bournemouth. That will be live as well with us. Should that go to a final day, I mean, it's all sorts of permutations, but we'll let you know near the time what our plans will be for the final day of the Premier League season. All depends on what issues are to be decided or what. But if Manchester City keep up their present pace and keep winning their games, there's nothing, because Arsenal have played the game more, there's not much else they can do about it. It's down to whether Manchester City have got the bottle to keep going and winning games in the running. If they keep winning games, they could win it with a game or 2 to spare here. It all depends on how Arsenal do against Brighton. They've got to keep winning to keep pace at the top. But as I said, they will play the game more. So I'm just going to point that out. So Manchester City's last 2 fixtures, as we look at the running here, they're running now. They obviously, as you can see, they've got Real Madrid next up. In terms of league football, they've got a tough game against Chelsea, but Chelsea have been over the place under Frank Lampard. They've really had a poor season, so you'd expect Manchester City still at home to pick up. They've got 3 games left, so they've got the most difficult. The last home game is on next Sunday, as City go off in search of a 4th goal, but the ball's out of play. It will be a goal kick to Everton down at the Park Road end. So their last home game will be a week today, 4 o'clock kickoff. Manchester City against Chelsea. That's a big game in every sense for Chelsea as well. They want to end the season on a high. They won't want to end it in the bottom half of the table. And of course, there's talk about Pochettino coming to Stamford Bridge for next season. Tottenham having problems with their managerial shortcomings as well. They won't be getting Vincent Kompany, and they won't be getting Niceman neither, because they're ruled themselves out. But Kompany, I'm pleased to say, from a Burnley fans' point of view, signed a new 5-year deal with Burnley, which is good news for them, and a statement of intent when Burnley do go back into the Premiership next season. He's going to have a decent war chest to play with. He's already used a little bit of that by getting Jordan Bayer on that. He was with us on a season-long loan. He's got him now on a 4-year deal. He's been different gravy, Jordan Bayer, this season for Burnley. And there's been talking about Romelu Lukaku coming to Turf Moor, but I think that's just rubbish paper talk. I can't see Romelu Lukaku on wages and transfer fees alone coming to Turf Moor. It would have to be a massive, massive break in Burnley's wage ceiling structure, unless Alan Pace has given Vincent Kompany carte blanche. I can't see that happening. Anyway, here's Onana for Everton. 5 minutes to go. We've still got a game on here, but it's petered out into a real non-event at the moment. Manchester City obviously winning. In a minute or 2, I think I've got a player in match in mind, so I don't think we'll have to rush too much for playing the match. But when we hit the 86-minute mark and the ball comes out of play, I've already decided who the player of the match is going to be. Anyway, here's Pattinson, and that's a corner. In fact, I'll give you the player of the match right now. It's Ilkay Gundogan. 2 goals and an assist. He's had a marvellous match. That's for sure. Anyway, as Demarai Gray crosses and it's blocked away. But just to remind you, Ilkay Gundogan is my choice for player of the match, sponsored, of course, by Commentary Services. As Tarkowski tries to win, Tarkowski rather tries to win another header in there. But Russ will be back with you at 4:25, incidentally, for that Arsenal match. In fact, it's 4:15, we're told. 4:15, not 4:25, as I previously advertised. And McNeil gets the crossing. So just to confirm the player of the match, Ilkay Gundogan of Manchester City. There it is. If you're listening and you're seeing it on screen, that's my obvious choice. I mean, it would have been probably just. There was no other player. Possibly, there was no other player challenging him for the award. Possibly Erling Haaland, purely simply because he was a bit of an handful and scored a classic headed goal. But you look at the statistics of all the players, and you look at Gundogan's contribution and his involvement in all 3 goals. I think the player of the match choice was a no-brainer. It's Everton come forward looking for some consolation with 3.5 minutes to go, but not to be, and Gingy can get it away for Manchester City. As they're cruising to victory. It's been cruise control ever since half time, really, ever since the 37th minute, really, when they scored those 2 quick fire goals. Gundogan, then Ireland, within the space of 3 minutes. And then as Jack Grealish, who was caught in a little bit of controversy during the week. Manchester City are about to make another change here now. Kelvin Phillips, a player that Russ will know very, very well indeed. He's going to replace Rodri. As Rodri makes his way off. A decent match, but a little bit non-existent when you look at the goal involvements of Gundogan and Erling Haaland, but he's a very quiet, considered. Well, he did have a shot in the first half which Pickford saved quite easily, but really apart from that, he's not really had much else to do. Just to keep you abreast of all the other scores, still 2-0 to Brentford in that other Premier League game. Danny Ings did have the ball in the net for West Ham, but the goal got chalked out for handball from the VAR people. So a frustrating afternoon for West Ham in more ways than one down there this afternoon. In the Women's FA Cup final, it's still 0-0 after 58 minutes between Emma Hayes' Chelsea women and Manchester United women. Earlier in the playoffs, it's finished Coventry 0, Middlesbrough 0. So they're going to do it all over again in midweek at the Riverside Stadium. In the other semi-final that was played yesterday, Sunderland 2, Luton Town 1. So we look at the player of the match. Next to Erling Haaland, Ilkay Gundogan is a terrific talent, and if Pep Guardiola doesn't get him on another contract in the summer, I think Manchester City fans will be up in arms, because he has been he's been the major difference for why City have won this game today. Maybe, possibly, that could be the game that possibly wins them the league. And of course, Arsenal will certainly have their say later on in just over half an hour's time when they take the field against Brighton. Remember, our programme now starts at 4:15 today. Paul James is your commentator. Russ will be doing a double shift for you today as regards to Premier League commentaries. So Russ will be hosting along with Paul James in the commentary booth, and of course we'll have full live commentary, kick by kick commentary of the C2 playoff semi-final, an intriguing one at that between Bradford City and the stewardship of Mark Hughes these days, and Carlisle United have done so well on a very tight budget to get back into the playoff zone. Traditionally a team that really struggles at the wrong end of the League 2 spectrum, but having a good season by their time and an excellent season, but they're in the shake-up along with Salford and Stockport. They've still got to play down at Edgeley Park in the second leg. Salford winning that first leg by a goal to 0, remember. And if you heard Nicholas's brilliant commentary of that 1-1 draw between Bolton and Barnsley, it's all these games, incidentally, if you are listening to all platforms, on all participating TCL platforms, you can listen to all our live commentaries. Again, if you missed them live, you can watch them back, because the videos will stay up on the on the participating YouTube channels for you to enjoy at your leisure. So just to let you know that that is available to you. If you missed the game, you can listen back to them at a later date if you so wish. As we've got 4 added minutes and we're into the first of them. We've got another substitution now, and we're going to see. We're going to see here. We'll get confirmation of who's come on and who's come off in just a second. It's Gomez that's come on. Diaz has gone off. So Gomez is on for Manchester City. Diaz off for Manchester City. Okay, so we've cleared that one up. So Everton really disappointed. Really, they had a 10-minute period in the second half where they did give it a bit of a go, but they just haven't really done enough in the second half to really warrant. But this was never going to be a game, in reality, that Everton were going to prosper from or try and get any meaningful points from. It's going to be Wolves next week and then Bournemouth on the last day 2 weeks today that's going to define their season, really, as Mina and Cody almost making dog's dinner from playing out from the back. And now Gomez gets his first touch now. We've played nearly 2 minutes of the 4 that have been added on at the end of the stoppage time. Just to remind you, the player of the match today, no brainer for me this afternoon. Probably one of the easier choices, really, I've had this season to choose in terms of a player of the match. And it was a no-brainer. Ilkay Gundogan. You just look at his stats, he's way out on his own, really, in terms of goal involvement. Involved in all 3 goals, 2 goals and an assist to his name. A cute finish for his first goal. Lovely cross for Erling Haaland to nod in goal number 2. And then a sumptuous free kick 10 minutes into the second half. Really sealing Everton's fate for today. At least the Everton fans are still cheering the team on, and all credit and all power to them. At least cheering the team on under very bad circumstances. I think in their heart of hearts, I think Everton realistically knew that this was a game that they couldn't really expect to get too much out of today. You look at the way Manchester City are playing at the moment, it's just, you've just got to look at it. It's been a golfing class. And Ilkay Gundogan has been the main difference why City are in the position they're in right now. As Bernardo Silva looks for Jack Grealish. Grealish takes the ball down nicely. Will run towards the area, cut inside. The former Villa man cost, of course, Manchester City £100 million. Big money to pay, that is for sure. As Kelvin Phillips tries to make inroads on the far side, but here he is now on the ball, touching it back. It's been quite easy for Manchester City. At least now they can get players well rested for Wednesday now, that big European semi-final. And of course, they've got a big game coming up next week against Chelsea. Then they're away at Brighton. And then they're away at Brentford on the last day of the season. But conceivably, if results go their way, the title could be won well before then. But they need Arsenal to drop points, and you'll find out whether they will or not in around about 15 minutes' time when we go live with Paul James and Russ Burden at 4:15 British summertime. Here comes Manchester City with Riyad Mahrez. Still 0-0 in that women's semi-final. Still 2-0 to Brentford, that women's FA Cup final. So Arsenal and between Manchester United and Chelsea. As the final whistle sounds here at Goodison Park. Well, there's no doubt who the player of the match was. Ilkay Gundogan was the main reason why City was so imperiously at their best. They moved to 85 points. They moved 5 points above Arsenal. They've now played the same amount of games, but Arsenal will have played again more by the end of play today because, of course, when they played that game against Brighton, as Erling Haaland and he's having to be actually Jack Grealish away. There's something happening here off the ball at the end, and I don't understand why Jack Grealish needs to get involved. He's a player that lives on the edge and lives on an ocean. But there's no need for Jack Grealish to get involved there. And thankfully, it's ended all smiles. Erling Haaland, the professional and the great player he is, he came straight off the bench, and Pep Guardiola asking him why. Why did you do that, Jack? But Haaland, to his credit, came on and came racing on, stopped Grealish from causing any more. See, I don't know what it was about. It was I think it was maybe something to do with Yerry Mina, I think. But why, after such a convincing victory, why would you want to get involved in a spat with another player? I will never know. But Manchester City, let's go back to the overall picture of the game. Manchester City was superb and they were terrific, really. I mean, sumptuous goal from Gundogan when he toe-poked it goals after a good little flick up with his knee. That from the 6-yard box, he just whipped it with his right foot, right toe poke into the net. The left-hand corner. That gave Manchester City lead, and then he's crossed from the left. Gabriel Inara, the freedom of the Everton 6-yard box to nodding goal number 2, 2 minutes later on 39 minutes. And then after 55, Ilkay Gundogan with a superb right-footed free kick. Sealed the place long before the end of the game. Erling Haaland knows this is a significant result, but it's over to Arsenal now. They've got to play against Brighton, and if they can get points there, the gap will be down to 1 point. And if Everton must turn their attention to Wolves next Saturday, and then Brentford here 2 weeks today. There will be the games that will define whether Everton will stay a Premier League club next season. So the gap now, we've all played 35 games, but Arsenal will play 36 by the time they finish today at Brighton. But we'll have to wait and see while that one will pan out. But Man City, game in hand. And all they've got to do is keep winning against Chelsea, Brighton and Brentford, and they will be champions, no matter what Arsenal do. It's finished here at Goodison Park as we head over to Westford for the wrap up. It's finished. Everton 0, Manchester City 3.
Thank you very much, JB. We're just going to wrap up with just the other Premier League score from the 2 o'clock kickoffs on this Sunday afternoon. It's finished Brentford 2, West Ham United 0. All the other scores will come at half time of Arsenal against Brighton, which is coming up in around about 15 minutes time. Yeah, on the Commentary Hub, also on JB Sports, also on Commentary Hub 2, and also on Storm FM and over on our Twitch channel. Make sure you can go across there to check that out. But from myself and JB, thank you very much for listening to Everton 0, Man City 3 in the Premier League.